Many people across the world have reported seeing a featureless shadow of a man with a top hat at night. Some claim to be fearful of him, while others felt comforted by the encounter. Who can tell if this shade from the underworld is real or just a symptom of severe sleep paralysis? The only thing we know for certain is that thousands of people can't be imagining the exact same thing. Here's 5 allegedly true encounters with this entity. By Reddit user StinkyRaptor. When I was growing up, one of my best friends told me about a very creepy situation involving him, his younger brother, and a man in the window. When my friend and his little brother were younger, they shared a bedroom. They're some years apart, but his younger brother was born with a multitude of different health issues, including multiple sclerosis, and he's confined to a wheelchair and cannot care for himself. So, to keep an eye on him overnight when his parents couldn't, they shared a bedroom. One night my friend randomly woke up for no particular reason and happened to glance over at his younger brother, but noticed something very startling. A strange silhouette of a man wearing a top hat looking in through the window behind his younger brother's crib. The first thing my friend did was jump up and turn the light on, then ran into his parents' room to tell them what he saw. When his parents came back into their room to investigate, his younger brother was having a seizure in his crib. A few of his family members say it was his younger brother's guardian angel standing in the window that night. My friend believes it was death. It's all still pretty unsettling to me. By Reddit user meanYear4646. When I was in kindergarten or first grade, the bus would drop me off at home. Sometimes, no one else was home yet, and I'd be on my own for a little while. Not for too long, because I was so young. Sometimes my mom just got out of work a little late. Anyway, I knew where the key was hidden and would just let myself in, turn on the TV, and hang out while I waited. On this day, however, I walked in and started to turn right into the living room when I noticed something moving on the wall of the hallway. I stood and watched, and it became clear that it was a shadow of a man. He had a fedora-shaped hat on and what looked like a long coat flapping about his ankles. He was floating an inch or two above the baseboard and walking in an exaggerated creep, like he was a cartoon character sneaking around. He lifted his knees high and took long, exaggerated steps. He reached the end of the hallway and went around the corner and was now on the wall directly across from me. His head seemed to turn toward me and then away. He then leapt way up into the air and swan dove behind the couch that was pushed up against a wall. I ran and grabbed the phone off of its charger in the hallway, then back out the front door and called my mom. She assured me my imagination was just running wild, but I stayed on the porch until she came home. I'm writing this story because I have just heard of shadow people for the first time, and Hat Man specifically. I am sick to my stomach. It's horrifying to think that I have seen this being that must have been real, considering thousands all over the world see him. I don't know how to explain it away. By Reddit user Twitwood. Thought I'd share a true story that has creeped me out for years. When I was about 10 or so, my brothers and I all shared a fairly small finished attic in our house. We each had twin beds, and my bed was the closest to the stairs. There was a landing at the top, so my bed was still a good 15 feet or so from the stairs. The attic itself was originally not finished, and to get to the attic you opened the bedroom closet downstairs, and then in the closet was a narrow wooden staircase going up. One night I'm sound asleep, and I wake to the sound of a very slow creaking noise, like someone was trying to tiptoe. The stairs were old and very noisy normally, so the creaking was still pretty noticeable. I get up and walk to the top of the stairs and look down. It's dark out, but there is a tiny bit of light coming in from outside. There are windows at the top of the stairs, so I'm assuming there was at least a partial moon out. On the stairs I see a man walking up, but he's totally black. As in, he's darker than the very dim light in the stairwell. He is wearing a wide brim hat that is rounded on top. I can tell from the shape of the hat that he is looking down, like he is watching his feet while climbing steps. Then, slowly, I see the hat shift, as if he is looking up. I remember waking up twice, once while it was still dark and I couldn't move. And the second time for real, in the morning. While googling for this, I came across this site saying it's a common dream, which makes it a bit more creepy to me. Anyway, I know it was likely just a dream, but to this day I get my hairs standing on end thinking about it, and I can still very clearly hear the stairs creaking in my mind. By Reddit user Wordblender. In May 1985, my friend, Lisa, and I were returning to the US. We had spent a week wandering and camping in Canada. We're both female, by the way. Being 20 years old, we had scarcely any money and we had just spent the last of it on gas, so we needed to make it home. We drove late into the night. By 1 a.m. we still had a few hours to go. We were traveling south on Route 84 to Moline, Illinois. Lisa was driving, and we were having a great time. We chatted up a storm as we made our way down that little two-lane highway. It's probably a scenic road by day. But at night everything was pitch black. Suddenly, a shape appeared at the very edge of our headlights. It looked like a log was laying in the opposite lane. As we got closer, the log turned out to be the legs of a man sitting on the highway. As we got even closer, we could see that the man was sitting on the solid white line of the opposite lane. His legs were jutting straight out onto the highway and would have been run over if a car had been coming from the other direction. We slowed down. Lisa started to swerve towards him. We said a few things like, "I wonder if he needs help and I wonder what he's doing out here in the middle of nowhere." The headlights completely illuminated him as we drove towards him. He sat facing the opposite side of the road, so we were looking at him in profile. He was wearing a brown suit, brown shoes, and a brown hat. His arms hung down by his sides. At first, he did not move or acknowledge us in any way. We stared at him in silence. Suddenly, he jerked his face towards us. His eyes were glowing red. His mouth opened and twisted into a snarl. We were completely terrified. To Lisa's credit, she reacted quickly by swerving away from him, punching the gas, and making a getaway as fast as she could. As we sped away, we both turned to look out the back window, but neither of us could see anything in the darkness. We couldn't shake the feeling of wrongness. It felt like we had stumbled across something we weren't supposed to see. It looked and dressed like a man, but those glowing red eyes were not human. By Reddit user this random name 1, when I was younger I experienced some pretty strange stuff. The most frequent occurrence had to do with this office chair that I had in my room. No matter how I left the chair when I fell asleep, once I woke up it would always be facing towards my bed. I dismissed it for a long time since the chair was under an air vent, but then I got my Xbox and I would move the chair to the center of the room to play. I left the chair there a couple times and still once I woke up, the chair was facing me. I started putting the chair back because I liked the vent explanation. Well, one night I forgot to put the chair back and I had a dream that there was something in a trench coat and top hat, no other distinct features, sitting in the chair staring at me. I screamed and it shuffled the chair closer to put its finger over my mouth in a hush gesture. I woke up terrified and the chair was directly next to my bed and as always, was facing me. I asked my dad if maybe he had been checking in on me at night and sitting in the chair, and he said no. Needless to say I moved the chair out of my room since I couldn't find any way to explain these experiences away. Besides the chair, my closet shared a wall with the shower, and sometimes when I would take a shower there would be knocking from the other side of the wall, meaning knocking came from my closet. I would hear footsteps when no one else was home, and my things would somehow end up on the floor. Finally one night I had this vivid dream. The trenchcoat man woke me up from my bed and beckoned me to follow him. So I got up to follow him, and on my bedroom floor were two little, ghostly, girls playing with Barbies. As I was walking out of my room I looked in the mirror, and there was also a ghostly woman behind me who then floated up through the ceiling. I opened my bedroom door and the trenchcoat man was turning the corner from the hallway to the dining area, and after he goes, an older woman emerges from the bathroom. She crosses the hallway and disappears through the wall. I round the corner into the dining area, and the trenchcoat man is nowhere to be seen, but the older woman is there. She escorts me to the couch in the living room and then leaves through the front door. In my dream I laid down on the couch and fell asleep, and after I fell asleep I woke up for real, and I was on the couch. Now this was a very long time ago, and after that I didn't have any more experiences with the trenchcoat man, but a few months back I started to tell my mother about the dream, and she then explained that her, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother have all dreamt of this trenchcoat and top hat man. It was a big deal for her to admit, as she is a skeptic about that sort of stuff. But I've basically always wondered what that experience was about. And now I wonder why it's been passed down through generations of my family.